Well, a couple of weeks ago, as I sometimes do, I asked Maggie, my wife, Pastor Maggie, if I might run parts of my sermon by her. Her response that week was, if I were preaching this week, I would stand up at the pulpit, read the gospel, and sit back down. If you were here last week, you know that didn't happen. But really, sometimes the Scripture speaks for itself. And as a pastor, the temptation is sometimes great to read and reread a text over and over again so that our community might truly hear its words. This is my temptation this morning with Isaiah's text. This passage is strong, though long, explicit to the point, challenging, true to God and true to us, and timely, I think. But though it be tempting to read it and drop the mic, I offer a few remarks regarding this passage. In the 58th chapter of Isaiah, we get what appears to be a commentary on spiritual practice, in particular the practice of fasting in ancient Israel. It's a curious thing for God, it seems, to lead a people at once so devoted to seeking godly knowledge and so delighted to work in godly ways, while at the same time totally and completely missing the mark. Isaiah says that they behave as if they were a nation that practiced righteousness, as if they did not forsake the ordinances of their God. Well, in that as if, we might infer together what's coming next. The Israelite people claimed to embrace God and God's values, but these values rarely saw the light of day. They would say, desire one thing, but would not put it into action. Let's take fasting, for example. At first glance, fasting seems like a fine spiritual practice, but in the way the Israelites were going at it, their fasting had become self-serving, prideful, and even harmful to the people around them. Isaiah's text convicts them of serving themselves rather than God or neighbor, of using fasting to oppress their workers, of using fasting as an excuse for violence of cruelest nature. And God's voice in Isaiah is blunt. Quote, such fasting as you do today will not make your voice heard on high. End quote. The Israelite people have masqueraded a self-serving and harmful practice as godly practice, and God not having it. Selfishness and neglect of neighbor, these are most blatantly heinous when masqueraded as God. I would like to share a church sign with you that I saw a couple of weeks ago, without naming the church. Church signs can sometimes be a source of information, of humor, or even inspiring encouragement. A couple of weeks ago, I saw a church sign which read this: feeling overwhelmed, turn the TV off for a bit. I have to be honest with you this morning, that church sign angered me quite a bit, and I think this morning's Isaiah text clarifies why. I saw in these 9 words a sentiment currently held by many in our country. When we turn on the TV or scroll through Facebook, we are constantly confronted with painful stories of oppression, hateful rhetoric, prejudice, scandal, violence, and arguing. Encountering this brokenness can be an exhausting experience, and we try to isolate ourselves from this angst by turning off our electronics. Let me be clear. If you can turn off the TV or Facebook for self-care, you are a privileged member of society. If you have the ability to care for yourself by turning away from stories of oppression and justice, you possess privilege. This word privilege gets thrown around a lot, and sometimes it's not always clear how someone might possess privilege, but I think here it is rather plain. When we can forget about injustice and oppressive realities with the click of a button, we have privilege. And I wonder, are we called to embrace this privilege, or are we called to battle against the oppression that so fatigues us? To think that the oppression of another, that the hate and violence directed towards others, would be too overwhelming and exhausting to warrant the church's attention seems hyperbolic enough to invoke these words from Isaiah: such fasting as you do today will not make your voices heard on high. Will you call this a fast, a day acceptable to the Lord? This practice of disengaging from an uncomfortable world, this has become spiritual fast as troublesome as the fasting in our text this morning? Who are we helping in this fast? Who are we helping when we deliberately remove ourselves from tough conversations and stories? How can we love our neighbor if we ignore the plight of our neighbor? Isaiah says we are, quote, not to hide ourselves from our kin, but instead to loose the bonds of injustice. We are not to disappear from our neighbor's side when the going gets tough. I hear many reasons and feel with you many reasons for wanting to remove oneself from the angst in our country. And I hope you don't hear me saying that self-care is wrong. Self-care is necessary for the work of the Spirit. But we cannot encounter justice if we do not first encounter injustice on our neighbor's behalf. For my friends of color, for my colleague in California who was punched in the face last week because of her brown skin. For another colleague who needs to carry his passport and birth certificate on his person at all times because of the color of his skin. For my LGBT plus and intersex friends, for my colleague in Chicago who is confronted with hate and violence daily because of their gender and sexuality. For our friends at the mosque in Champaign, at the prejudice, ignorance, and hate directed at their community, for children fleeing deadly violence and hunger from south of our border or in the Middle East who encounter fear, stinginess, and rejection in our country. I wonder how hurtful it would be to say to them, the injustice you experience exhausts me. I need a break. Jesus warns us in the gospel that salt, which has lost its saltiness, is no longer good for anything. This is our warning this morning as a group predominantly privileged. If our faith has no bite, if our prayers have no action, if our love has no justice, if our hearts bear no compassion, if our words offer no truth, if our friendships have no accompaniment, we have lost our saltiness as a church. To seek God and delight in God's ways, as the Israelites in Isaiah text, is not enough. We must ally ourselves with justice, which means we will be exhausted. We will feel pain. We will be saddened, and we will even break by the injustices towards our neighbor. We cannot fast from injustice and expect to encounter justice. If we want to see more justice, then we fight against injustice. Let us keep our saltiness. Let us engage a world which is broken and which is killing our friends and neighbors daily. Let us ally ourselves with our neighbor. Fight alongside those who have been fighting their entire lives on behalf of their human worth. Now it's time for me to read the Isaiah text. Now it's time to reflect on our spiritual practices and remember that God delights in those who loose bonds of injustice, who undo thongs of the yoke, who let the oppressed go free, share bread with the hungry, house the homeless, clothe the naked. Shout out, do not hold back, lift up your voice like a trumpet. Announce to my people their rebellion, to the house of Jacob their sins. Yet day after day they seek me and delight to know my ways, as if they were a nation that practiced righteousness and did not forsake the ordinance of their God. They ask of me righteous judgments. They delight to draw near to God. Why do we fast, but you do not see? Why humble ourselves, but you do not notice? Look, you serve your own interest on your fast day and oppress all your workers. Look, you fast only to quarrel and to fight and to strike with a wicked fist. Such fasting as you do today will not make your voice heard on high. Is such the fast that I choose, a day to humble oneself? Is it to bow down the head like a bulrush and to lie in sackcloth and ashes? Will you call this a fast, a day acceptable to the Lord? Is not this the fast that I choose? To loose the bonds of injustice, to undo the thongs of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, to break every yoke? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry and bring the homeless poor into your house? When you see the naked, to cover them and not to hide yourself from your own kin? Then your light shall break forth like the dawn, and your healing shall spring up quickly. Your vindicator shall go before you. The glory of the Lord shall be your rear guard. Then you shall call, and the Lord will answer. You shall cry for help, and God will say, Here I am. if you remove the yoke from among you, the pointing of the finger, the speaking of evil, if you offer your food to the hungry and satisfy the needs of the afflicted, then your light shall rise in the darkness, and your gloom be like the noonday. The Lord will guide you continually and satisfy your needs in parched places and make your bones strong. And you shall be like a watered garden, like a spring of water whose waters never fail. Your ancient ruins shall be rebuilt. You shall raise up the foundations of many generations. You shall be called repairer of the breach, the restorer of streets to live in.